And we are live. Welcome to this edition of Wealthy Wednesday. Oh my goodness. Today, I'm just so humbled and honored for our special guest speaker. But as always, my name is Leah Garcia, and it is my intention and my mission to help you properly protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth. And what do I mean by that? Protect your wealth from the 5 biggest wealth killers there are. And we're going to talk about that in the next edition, and how to distribute that wealth, because we all can accumulate wealth, but how do we spend that wealth? I call it a spending plan. And then that transfer that wealth. How are you going to leave your assets, properly leave those assets to your loved one so that you can build that legacy and create generational and multi-generational wealth? So that's really my vision and my mission. And I do have a 1-page financial plan. I call it the Wall of Wealth. It is my proprietary 1-page financial plan that will help you kind of get a checkup on where you are and see where those blind spots, those booby traps are in your own financial plan. So with that being said, today is not about me. It is about our guest speaker. And I'm just so grateful and so thankful and really honored to have her here with us today. Today is a topic that I think is so needed. And it's something that probably is difficult for her to share. And so I just really honor her for sharing her story. It's about the impact of life insurance and really her own personal journey and her personal story for her and her family. So with that being said, please give it up for an amazing, one of my dear friends, an amazing client. And also she's an incredible realtor, also a professional realtor. So if you need real estate, she's your girl. So please get up for Miss Amazing Chandrika Powell. Take it away, Miss Chandrika.
Thank you, Leah. This is just fun, a fun opportunity for me to, of course, meet all of your listeners and kind of share and network in that way. I do real estate and interior design, and also specialize in staging for my clients. So I love what I do, but I'm here more on a personal level to share how Leah's services really blessed my life with my late husband and my family's lives. And I really am a strong proponent in learning from other people's situations. And throughout my life, I've listened to other people's situations, learned, taken in what I could. If it ever happened to me in the future, I would have more information, be better prepared, that sort of a thing. So this is my way of paying it forward to other people. And I do this in my business. And of course, I want to help your business, Leah, because you were such a blessing in our lives. So why don't you ask me some questions and I'll start.
Yeah, there you go. Well, for sure. Well, we've known each other a little while here. It's been a few years back ago. So yeah, I was only really mainly doing health insurance at the time. And that's how we kind of got together and shared with you folks some options. But I have always believed in life insurance. And so of course, as part of that financial plan, even though I say only selling health insurance, I always talk to my clients about life insurance and the importance of life insurance. And so when we finished up our conversation about health insurance, that was the next step. And it kind of went over like a lead balloon.
With my husband, not with me.
Yes, with husband.
Yeah. So basically, I was a firefighter for a few years out of college, and then ended up electing to stay at home as a stay-at-home mom, and kind of created a side business of interior design. But I was mostly stay-at-home, so not the breadwinner of our family. And my husband worked all the time, and I was constantly worried, for any late nights or traveling or whatever was happening. I always felt very vulnerable not having an income or a strong income for myself. And so I was always hoping, wishing, trying to convince my husband to get life insurance. So in came Leah, and, the subject came up, and my late husband was very apprehensive of getting it. He felt somewhat dispensable with the thought of getting it, afraid that it was almost like bringing it into the universe. If he had life insurance, that something then might happen. Many fears, which I think are quite normal for people. At the time, had we had the funds to do the same amount of life insurance for both of us, probably he might have felt differently, but at the time we were going to stretch to even be paying for one. So I think, if my memory serves me right, Leah, you left quite a few times, came back quite a few times. We went back and forth about how we would do it, why we would do it.
Yeah.
Truly, we even did a little bit of personal couples counseling around it, because it really was a stressor for me, about just feeling vulnerable. And so here we are, we both feel vulnerable. He feels vulnerable because he has life insurance, and I feel vulnerable because I don't have a strong income. So
Wow.
we did eventually get through that. We did eventually call you back and got life insurance. And I want to say it was probably when we were in our 40s that we did that. And of course, it's common knowledge, but we'll just share it all here, that the younger you are, the more easily affordable the life insurance is. And obviously, the longer term that you can afford is always better, because the older you are, it gets more expensive. And you may even have health conditions that make it harder to get. So we were lucky enough to come to a decision together that it was the right thing to do. And once we did it, my late husband was not upset about it anymore. It was more about the idea of thinking about it. Once he decided to do it, it was a huge relief, and we were both really glad that we did. We did put it on auto pay. I highly recommend that for everyone, because one little thing can happen, and if you don't know that you've missed a payment, they can cancel you very quickly, and you would never want to find out that you didn't have it when you thought you did. So that's just another little tip. For us, the bad part of the story is when he turned 50, he was having stomach indigestion and started.
Now, really quick, Shandi, how long after we got the policy in place did that happen? Did he start having some issues?
Honestly, and maybe my timeline is off when I said 40s, because you can correct it in the end. But I want to say that he's always had some indigestion. And so it wasn't an abnormal thing. Really, what was more abnormal for him was he started losing his appetite. And we always ate well, drank well, never had trouble gaining weight, always had trouble losing weight. So for him to all of a sudden be naturally losing weight and not having such an appetite was concerning to me. Of course, at the beginning, he was very excited, because he was like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and kind of making up stories in his mind about how he was eating less, and but he was actually eating less because he didn't feel the hunger to eat it, which was what we later found out was cancer. But it took about 6 months to a year for the doctors to really believe themselves that he had cancer. His labs looked good. We went in every other week, because it was such a dramatic amount of weight loss. I was like, there's no way that this is an ulcer or stress. We've had stress our whole lives. We've always been self-employed. That's another detail that's important. We didn't have life insurance through our work. We had to pay our benefits privately. So we were always in a hustle of self-employment and entrepreneurship. So I knew in my gut that it was more than ulcers, but they were trying to treat it as such for quite a long time. Finally, they did an MRI, and immediately it was obvious that he had extreme cancer on his liver and his pancreas. And there was no doubt that he had terminal stage 4 cancer. And so it was very shocking. I think to us, just at our age, I was 45 and he was 50, and there was a huge, of course, shock, but also a moment of relief and what's the word? Calm, in that we had set up our life insurance. We did not set up any trusts at that point. We always talked about it, never wanted to spend the money or take the time. So we did not have a living trust. We didn't have any of that in place. And in our case, the silver lining or the blessing, if you can find a blessing in stage 4 terminal cancer, is that we had time.
Right.
So we did have time to call an attorney, to get a trust set up. We had time to talk about all of the issues and really make decisions together, and on a united front for our kids and for our family. But so often, someone can pass in a tragedy or super unexpected in a heart attack or a car accident or, whatever it might be. And if you don't have those things in place, it is much more of a hardship for the spouse that is left behind, and also for the children and family members. So I do feel blessed that we had time to really do it together, and set it up. And I encourage everyone, because you don't always get that opportunity, to do it now. Like not tomorrow, not next week, now. Doing our living trust was like an hour meeting, and I want to say it might have been $1,800, and it was so easy. And you can just do the basics. We didn't have a ton of assets. The ones that we did were very simple and clean. And it was just so simple. Like this thing that we had been avoiding was so easy. And I highly encourage everyone out there, even if you're a single parent, you've got to have a living trust for your kids or for your family members that you might leave behind should anything happen. Otherwise, the state and the government, enjoys and reaps benefits on your behalf, and your loved ones don't get it all. So anyway, I'm a super big proponent of it. And I think I remember we called you, Leah, and we were like praying that we didn't miss a payment, praying that it was all intact. And I think it was even close enough to the grace period. You could explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'd actually been following up with you folks about life insurance for over 5 years.
Okay.
So every year I'd kind of knock on the door. Hey, how's it going? How's your health insurance? How about that life insurance? Let's have a conversation. And it was always kind of like, yes, in a few months. We're gonna start working out. We're going to the gym. We're getting a healthy lifestyle, and then because we want to make sure we get the best rates that we can.
Right.
So,
avoid. But
there you go. There you go. But I just believe that if somebody comes to my path, I'm going to have the conversation. Now, they could have elected to never talk to me again. They could have absolutely blocked my call, but they didn't. They're always wonderful and gracious. And then we finally did get that in place, which was a little bit of a process, but we did get it in place. And I was so relieved and so excited because I knew it was something that was important for your family. And I knew that it was important for you. I knew that you were real concerned about that, which rightfully so. And your husband was the main breadwinner, and you were doing, I think it's incredible. Look at her design. You see her design in her background. If you are looking for interior design, I'm telling you, this girl's got amazing talent. But that was, not really the primary source of income. And so when we got it in place, which was a little bit challenging, Chris kind of avoided that too, but ultimately we did get it in place. And it was just about 2 years after that, I had seen a post on Facebook with one of your daughters. I think it was Chandler had posted that about my dad's diagnosis. Even now as I'm saying this, like I'm getting so many chills because I saw the post on Facebook and immediately I was like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure that this family's protection is in place. And I went into my back office and I was so grateful that it was there. It was active. So I knew that you had the life insurance, but I also knew we had put in place the living benefits. I don't know if you remember that. So it was term life insurance that also had the option of living benefits. That if someone were diagnosed with a critical illness, such as cancer, heart attack, stroke, or suffer a chronic illness, something that's not life threatening, but you're unable to take care of yourself for at least 90 days, and you had that benefit. So I knew they were taken care of if ultimately Chris did pass away, or if you needed to use those living benefits. And I was so grateful. And we communicated and we talked and we got together to discuss what the options were. But what was that like for your family at that moment when you realized that you did have this protection? How do you, what was that conversation? Was it, I'm just curious. I've always wondered, like, was he feeling like, gosh, I'm so glad that you did this? Or what was that conversation when you realized that you do have this in place and we do have options?
I can definitely say that we both felt a huge amount of peace, because you're so overwhelmed with a diagnosis like we had. And the bit of work that I was doing at the time, I needed to stop because I had to take care of him pretty much full time. And we realized, every day was precious time that we were going to be able to spend together with our kids and with each other. And so to know that I didn't have to be out in the hustle working, to know that him not being able to work was not going to really damage our family or our lifestyle in the moment was a huge relief. Of course, there was you don't get the life insurance until they actually pass away, but knowing that we had the living benefit that we could draw from was a huge relief. I don't think we actually utilized it. But it ultimately, that was a big deal. And I was able to be present for him in a much different way than I would have if I didn't know how I was going to survive financially without him. So it was a very different experience being able to care for him, spend time with him, and then ultimately, help him transition into passing. It was actually a beautiful experience versus a traumatic one, and one full of fear and stress. And I am grateful for that. I feel very blessed. And I also, as I said, this is my way of paying it forward to other people. Maybe a husband who's really apprehensive could see this and realize, wow, it's not about me and me dying and or a wife, it's not about me or me dying. It's really about the experience when you're in need for your spouse to be more present and to be able to really be in the moment with you and grieve together and make final plans together and really have all the conversations you wish you could have often once someone already passes. We got to have them. And I truly do believe that was a big part of the blessing of the life insurance for us. And getting that trust set up together. That was a huge blessing. And then I would say once he passed, I was able to breathe. We've both been self-employed our entire life together. We were married for 36 years. I had never dated anyone. I had never imagined being with anyone else. And so all of a sudden to be alone in the world, trying to figure out how I'm going to afford this life that we've built together and keep some continuity and consistency for our kids and for myself, was overwhelming, to say the least. But to be able to know I didn't have to be in panic mode. How am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to cover the expenses of the house? How am I, if the kids need money, what am I going to do? And to be able to really just breathe and know that whatever I did was going to be okay. What we ended up really doing is treating the life insurance money as though it was a retirement, because being self-employed, we really didn't have that set up. We were often living month to month, and the more we made, the more we spent, and we were not super responsible in that way. And so we were able to utilize the life insurance to create some retirement for me. And he was able to kind of pass, knowing that he had helped me in that way and given me some security. As you know, I get older, our kids won't have to be forking out money and caring for me like they would have. So really, we both felt a huge amount of relief and gratefulness that we had decided to do it, as hard as the decision was, and decided to spend the money as much as we thought we couldn't afford it. There's no way. It was invaluable. That's the first thing you should afford before the Starbucks coffee and the eating out during the week and all of these extra things that were all our Amazon purchases and all these things that we're all spending constantly. The gym memberships we're never using, whatever it is, like, to put life insurance and a trust first is 100% what we should all be doing.
Yeah. So oftentimes families spend first and then they try to save and invest and take care of things after they're spending. Really, if you put your priorities as taking care of your family, saving, investing, putting in the proper life insurance, you'll find a way to make up the other things. It just, I don't know how it works, but it absolutely does work. So I appreciate you sharing that story. I mean, I'm so grateful that we did have everything in place for your family. So let me ask you, I want to share a little bit about Chris, who he was, and just the type of family that you folks created, this beautiful family together. Share a little bit about him and his story.
Well, always an entrepreneur, always a salesperson, worked constantly, and was a real driver in whatever industry he was in. So he worked really hard and didn't always take the best care of himself because he was so focused on making an income and being successful, being a successful father and husband. And also, manager for his people that he managed. He did management in real estate for many years, which is kind of why I transitioned into real estate. Before he was diagnosed, I decided to join him on his team. And then for him to get this diagnosis and me to go, my other half in business, in life, in love, in parenting is now going to leave. It was honestly a blessing that I decided to do it beforehand. But he was a person who really believed in helping others, and a person who believed in educating people, which is, he would have loved to do this live with you and share his information and share his excitement about helping others and kind of passing on guidance to people, because we were big believers in you never know enough. You can always learn more. You're always, improving yourself and trying to do better in the world and for your family and for yourself. So I know he's looking down on us, and super excited that we're on this today, and really grateful that we're helping others with our hardship. It really is a blessing to be able to lift other people up. And for me, I just learn from listening, from seeing. I'm not a big reader. I hate screen time. So it's like, for me to hear someone's voice, to get to know who they are, to understand what they went through, that is what impacts me more than anything, and what I remember, what sticks. So I do hope that we can help other couples who are avoiding these hard conversations and these hard decisions to actually decide to do it and really just commit to your security in the future. I'm 52 now, and Chris would be 57, and I definitely know that lots of people around me are having heart attacks, they're having strokes, they're getting in car accidents, they're getting in motorcycle accidents, and my goodness, these things are happening with no notice. and you get the phone call and nothing is in place. I'm sure, Leah, you have people call you and say, my husband just died, or my wife just died. Can I get life insurance for them? No. Or we just got a, diagnosis. Can we do something now? It's too late. Or I don't know if it's totally too late, but often it is. So I just pray that everyone can think ahead and be brave enough to just bite the bullet and get it done, because it is a true blessing for everyone that's left behind. And even for the person that's ailing, to know that I remember Chris saying, I feel really grateful that although I'm leaving you, I feel like I'm abandoning you, but I also know that you'll be secure as you get older because of these decisions that we have made. So
That's
I know
so huge.
he found solace in that for sure, and it made him feel better.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that truly Chris was a believer in education, because there was hundreds, I don't know, thousands of people at his service.
Yeah.
So his impact was huge. I know that he was a huge giver and a believer of education and information. I don't know how many people, it was a packed house. I remember that.
He was a strong leader, and he really loved to share knowledge and have the interaction of really helping other people be more successful. He felt more success when they had more success. Competition, there's really none out there, because you're just competing with yourself. There's plenty of business for everyone, and we can all lift each other up and network and share and collaborate. So that was definitely his value system for sure.
Absolutely. And we have somebody who joined us, Miss Margaret. Oh my goodness, Miss Margaret sends her condolences for your loss. Thank you, Miss Margaret.
Thank you.
And she's actually on her way to be a TEDx speaker, but we'll talk about that another time. She's going to be a guest here.
Cool. Very
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely. She's an incredible speaker, and I'm so blessed to know her. Yes, Shaundi, I'm so grateful for you sharing this story. It's a difficult subject, can be a difficult subject for people, but truly it's one that we have to have. Either we have it in advance before something happens, or they're going to have the conversation afterwards. Why didn't they have life insurance? We should have picked up that call. We should have made that decision to move forward. And it can be more affordable than you think. There are many different options. And you're right. I do get the phone call. And I was sharing this with you a little bit before we got on here today. I'll never forget. I got a phone call from a client who was 34 years old. And the wife called me because her husband had a diagnosis. He'd been having some stomach issues, some stomach problems, and going to the doctor. And this was years. I think she said it was like 4 or 5 years. They kept asking, but he was young. And they said, he can't eat. He's not healthy. And the decision was always, or the diagnosis was always, take some pills, or, it probably isn't anything.
Yeah.
Right. Indigestion kind of thing. And after several years, they finally did get the diagnosis, and it was stomach cancer. And so the wife called me. She said, my husband has stage 4 stomach cancer now. She told me the story. What can I do? I'm young. I'm in my 30s. My husband's only 34 years old.
Yes.
We have young children. Can I get life insurance? And I will never forget that phone call, because there was nothing that I could do for her. Yeah. I mean, I could pray for her. Absolutely. There's other things like you alluded to, Shaundi, getting the living trust and doing some things like that to protect. But as far as life insurance was no longer an option
for him
at all.
Yeah.
Because people think that life insurance is purchased with money. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's your good health.
Mm-hmm.
If your health is not good, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can't get the policy. So I will never forget that conversation. And unfortunately, I get those calls, but I would like to get other calls that people who would like to. Let's prepare. Let's plan in advance. What can we do? What can we afford? There's something in every price point.
Yes. And just to point out, like, one of our biggest concerns, as I said, we were never skinny people. We never lost weight easily. And so we were always trying to lose 15 more pounds before we bought the policy, because it would be cheaper or less expensive. And now, in hindsight, that was so foolish. And there's always a policy that will take you being heavier. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can go back after you lose, you buy the policy as your chubby self, and you get it and you have it in place, and you can always go back and like revise it when you lose weight. Is that correct? So that should not be an excuse for not getting your life insurance set up. And there are policies for people with some conditions, and you just have to get it while where you are in your current state. And then as things get better, you can readjust those markers, and hopefully they'll give you a discount, which I think does happen. So my goodness, avoidance can really hurt us all in our life. And this particular subject is vitally affected by our avoidance. And it's really important that we all do it. I mean, I've got it now for my kids. And, you know, the minute that Chris passed, I immediately wanted it for all my family members, because it also gives you the blessing of, if you're the one that's still there, you know, still alive, and you're grieving these folks, it gives you a moment to just be and just grieve them and just support your loved ones and not freaking out. How are we going to cover their expenses? What are we going to do? How are we going to have the services? All of these things that can be such huge stressors when you're already grieving. And to be able to know that you're going to be covered in any amount is a huge blessing. And it's just, it allows you to be more present. It allows you to be there for your family and friends, and for yourself. I mean, it's really such a shock to lose someone. And my father, previous to Chris, had passed about, goodness, I don't know, 3 years before Chris. And he had nothing in place. We had to fight with probate. We had to convince the banks that we were his daughters. He didn't have beneficiaries. He was in so much denial and avoidance that he didn't want to talk about it, do it. He completely avoided it all. And it was such a struggle. Here we were grieving him, and we're having to prove to the bank 10 different ways that we even are his kids. and they put you through it. I mean, it is not friendly. And so to have things in place allows you to just be in the moment, be grieving and loving the person that you've lost. And so that was another thing. Chris did realize, seeing me go through that with my dad, that he was like, we got to get everything in order here. I mean, down to showing me how we were paying for everything. And again, that was a blessing that we had this opportunity. I always encourage people to get like a folder for your house and keep all of the records, all of the passwords, all of the account numbers, what account they're coming out of, so that it's like a go bag for the spouse. If anything were to happen to anyone in the house, the other person can come and get to it. I mean, there's been times where I've tried to get into Chris's old cell phone because of a password, or to try and find accounts he might have had I didn't even know about. Like, it's crazy the things that we do when we're in relationship, right? And when you're trying to do it on your own and in this panic of trying to figure it out, so much better to do it when you're with them, when you can discuss it and talk about it, have harder conversations. But when they're gone, you feel so grateful you had those conversations.
Yeah, for sure. And Ms. Margaret said, at moment of peace, that moment of peace is vital. It truly, truly is, especially, listen, none of us know what place we are on the line. Okay. We never know. I hear stories all the time. People call me.
Yeah.
So let's take a moment while we're here and at least have the conversation. And if it doesn't make sense for you, then it doesn't make sense for you. But just not even knowing what those numbers look like and what's available and what you can qualify, it's
Absolutely.
probably worth a 5-minute conversation.
100%.
And at least having knowledge.
And different time periods. I think it's like 10, 15, 20 years or whatever. I always encourage people, go for the 20 or the 30 or whatever's available, because as you get older, you could end up having illnesses or medications that you have to take that make it way more expensive. But and I know there's whole life. There's so many different ones. I don't know anything about it all. I just know that I'm grateful I had it, and I'm grateful I did what I did. And I highly encourage everyone to also do it. And I teach my kids about it, and all of my friends' kids, because it's even as a young person, you're leaving your debt onto your family if something happens to you. If you have life insurance, you're not burdening them in any way with any of that. So even for young people, it's a really important understanding and important conversation to be having.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. When you're young, it's pennies on the dollar.
My goodness. Yeah.
My 19-year-old niece was killed in a tragic car accident. She was 19 years old, and it was financially difficult on the family.
Yeah.
So we never ever know if you're young and healthy. I mean, it's so a couple of Starbucks and you're good.
Yeah.
And at the same time, people always ask me, Leah, what type of life insurance is the best? Do I get term? Do I get whole life? Do I get universal life? Do I get cash value? Like, which is the best policy? I'll tell you what the best policy is right here today. I'm going to solve that question for you. It's the one that's in place when you need it. Okay.
Yes.
Because there's a mixture. Most of my clients have a mixture. They do have some term because it's the most affordable and it has living benefits, and you can get millions of dollars for pennies on the dollar. But at the same time, we don't know how long we're going to live. And there's usually, I would say, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, you're going to need some coverage long term because it will be other things. You're talking about estate planning, wealth transfer, tax mitigation. You're talking about long-term care and all of those things. So those can all be eclipsed through having a permanent policy. At the same time, term policies are affordable. So the bottom line is start somewhere. And Chandrika, you touched on it. If you get a policy and maybe your health isn't, a little bit squirrely at the moment, if you do improve it, a lot of companies will allow you to go back and get that reduced premium. And also convertible. If you have something that's a term policy, but it's a convertible and you can keep it long term and turn it into a permanent policy if you decide that you need that. So there's a lot of different options. It's basically about customization. And so how did you folks feel about the amount of coverage that you have? How did you come about that number? Was it kind of random, or how did you figure out how much coverage to get?
We honestly did. We thought about our house. We thought that we would likely want to pay it off if I were alone and something were to happen, that there would likely be deferred maintenance that would have to be taken care of on the house because we were getting on and, roof and windows and all these different things that can be high dollar improvements that have to be done to protect that investment for ourselves and our kids. And then we really just thought about, based on his income. And of course, as our kids got older, worked more and brought more income, but it was never something that we had to rely on. So there was no, consistency about it. And so we really just kind of, I think at that point, decided to do as much as we could afford easily. I shouldn't say easily because it's never easy to have extra payments, but where we felt comfortable and then go from there. And we ultimately did decide to do it so that I could have some retirement set up for me. And so we just did the highest that we could without feeling like we might miss a payment. And it worked out really, really well. We didn't have any regrets. The minute he passed, I ended up getting life insurance that was the same for myself, so that my kids could know that if anything happened to me, they'd be okay. And so it's something that I think is the biggest gift you can give someone.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I couldn't have said it better. So there's kind of a theory that you can use to determine how much coverage you need. It is called DIME. It's a little acronym. DIME. D stands for debt. D stands for debt, which is debt other than your mortgage. Personal loans, credit cards, student loans, car notes, any of those kinds of debts. Add that number up. The I stands for income. So you want to replace the income for that breadwinner times 10. And the methodology behind that is so that you can have something to invest without spending the principal. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on that, but basically 10 years, 10 times their annual income. So if they're making $100,000, which is kind of pretty much basic income here in California, you need $1 million in coverage. M stands for the mortgage. How much do you owe on the mortgage? Now, I'm just talking about your primary residence. If you have rentals and stuff, that's a little bit different, but primary residence. And then E is for education. If you have minor children, do you want to leave a gift of college education dollars since you won't be there to be able to help support your kids through school? So that's a basic template that you can use for people to know and kind of determine. Now, it can get more custom into that, but if you're in California, $1 million in coverage is at really the minimum. Really, most families are going to need 2 million. If you listen to Susie Orman, she said recently that in order to retire, we need $2 to $5 million. So you can see inflation. Listen, gas here is almost $6 a gallon. Groceries, it used to be if I could go to $100, I would get 4 bags of groceries at the grocery store, or 5. Now it's like $100 bag, right? And it's a small bag. So things are costly. Things can get more costly, and we want to account for that. So that's called the DIME, DIME, and I'll put it in the comments here.
That's great.
Yeah. So in closing, what would you say to somebody who is that spouse, maybe stay-at-home mom, maybe they're just getting their family started? What would you say to them if they've kind of shied away from this conversation? We're young, we're healthy. I go to the doctor. That's the one I usually hear. I go to the doctor. I'm in good health. What would you say to a young family, or even a family, that they have established some things, they have some assets? What would you say to someone who's avoided this conversation to this point in their life?
I would honestly say that they probably have breached the conversation and it didn't go well. And so they now are avoiding any further conversation, because at least as a woman and a spouse, I had it many, many times and was avoiding it because he didn't want to talk about it, and he felt like it was a scary conversation, making him feel so vulnerable, which I understood. But the whole point was I felt vulnerable that we weren't having it. So I would say, call me. I'm happy to talk to both of you about it because I'm very transparent. And I believe that we do have very different, as men and women, views on it and fears about it. And I'm sure there's groups and Facebook, ways that you can hear and read about the conversations and tips on how to have it. But I would also say that it's just so important to really fight for what's going to make you feel safe and secure, and find a way to pay for it. Like, say, here, I'm willing to pay for this premium if you'll get it, because obviously they have to be in on it. As a parent now, I can imagine saying to my kids, I'll pay the $100 a month for you to have it on your spouse to protect you. Right. It's not about the money. It's really about the security for you and the what if of the world. And so many things can happen. And we never believed that he was going to get cancer. I was more worried that he would be hit by a car in a tragic accident, or, I don't know, anything on an airplane and it would crash. Like, it didn't matter what it was. I was more worried about something really tragic like that. Never in our wildest dreams did we think right before his 50th birthday, we were going to get this phone call saying he had terminal cancer. Wow. And so I would have been, well, let me just say, I would not be here, sitting here, having the success in my business, carrying on his legacy of real estate, being able to help and support my girls in the way that I can now, and myself in the way that I can now, if it weren't for that single decision that we were able to finally make together. Because I would have been immediately having to be forced to sell the house. I would be renting somewhere right now. I would be super stressed to the hilt, which would only help me in getting some, illness later, because stress is so bad for us. It would have been extremely life-changing. I can't even imagine, honestly. And I was able to really pull up my bootstraps and learn how to be a big girl on my own, and learn how to date and find a new life somewhere that was going to, be good for me, which is what he wanted for me. So it gave me room to figure all of that out, and peace of mind. So,
right. Gave you the space to really heal. You were
yeah,
married for over
yeah,
30 years.
yeah.
I mean, that's tragic to have to think about, how does this life look without my partner? I thought
Yes.
we were going to grow old together and retire together. And now suddenly that isn't the case. And I've got these girls, these daughters that I still need to be able to figure out how to raise and parent into adulthood.
Yeah, it
You
was
know,
crazy. We literally thought about it. We were together longer than I was with my parents.
right.
But, then we were both with our parents. Like, till you're 18, you're with your parents. And then all of a sudden you've created this life with this person. You've grown up with this person and learned the good, the bad, the wonderful, the ugly, right? And all of a sudden to have that person ripped away and to have to reorient your life and figure out who you are without them it's a lot. So you don't want to be freaking out financially and scared for your security, the roof over your head, your car payment, whatever it might be. It's not something I would wish on anyone.
Absolutely. And oftentimes, in the Hispanic culture, a lot of times the male will say, well, I don't want to leave money for Sancho. But I say, you can't be dead and jealous at the same time. Right. And the thing is, if you don't protect your family and say you leave your wife destitute without life insurance, she's going to be forced to probably make some decisions and probably need to find another relationship quicker than if she had that time to. I love what you said, is just to heal.
And
Life.
just to speak on that, because we created the Living Trust, he had the understanding and the feeling of security, because that money was going to go into that living trust. So it wasn't for Sancho. It was for me and our girls and my security moving forward. Who knows? I could end up getting married again to Sancho, and then he could die, and I'm still alone when I'm old. Like, it's really about loving the person and supporting their financial security and their mental health. In creating a new world for themselves without you in it. And the Living Trust was a huge deal, because I can get remarried to someone, and then I know that in that Living Trust, it's really for our kids. That was the whole point. And yes, it's going to help me with whoever I'm with, but it's not going to go directly to them. It's going to protect that nest egg that we created together.
That's right. I love doing living trust. It's absolutely one of my favorite things to do. I always say, let's start with the end in mind. What is the legacy you want to build? How do you want to transfer this generational wealth? And then let's reverse engineer that. And you're absolutely so on point, is Chandrika, is that you can protect those assets from Sancho, right?
Yeah.
Putting that.
I understand that. I mean, that's not just a man thing, that's a woman thing. I would want the same thing. But we also, when we're in relationship, we want our significant other to be happy and fall in love again and have security and have companionship. Of course, we don't want to think about it. Of course, we don't want to talk about it. But we ultimately want all of the people that mean something to us to have companionship and to be able to live their life and be in the moment and not be in the constant hustle of survival. So I feel that life insurance and a living trust is the recipe for success.
They absolutely go together. I'd love for you to take a moment and just share some of the wonderful things that you were able to do during the last few years or last few months of his life. I know I saw your family doing some different travels and creating some wonderful memories. Share a little bit about that if you could.
Yeah, I would say we typically pancreatic and liver cancer at stage 4 is like a 3 to 4 month survival time. And he, even though you have like a 7% chance of survival, it's not very good. He was adamant that he was going to, kick its butt and survive. So he did a lot of chemotherapy, which made him sicker, but we did get more time. So we ended up having 11 months. And as I said, the blessing was that we had time together and lots of wonderful conversations. Our girls were in college and had moved out, and so they had opportunities to come back and really spend some quality time with him and care for him. When someone's ailing, you want to just soothe them, be there for them, feel like you're nurturing them. We had a lot of opportunities to have everyone that cared for Chris to be able to come and visit him and really say goodbye and say what they needed to say to him before he left. And we did a beautiful thing where all of his, he was a leader in management of real estate. And so we asked all of his coworkers to say how he had impacted their life. And one of the blessings is to be able to read those things and hear them, right? You don't want to wait till your celebration of life or funeral to hear how wonderful you were. You want to hear it for your own. And so he was able to take all of that in. And the girls, it was really sweet. They read all the letters to him. And we cried and laughed and really enjoyed moments like that. Did a couple of videos, some legacy videos. And I really encouraged him to do more. But when you're really ailing, energetically, he wasn't really feeling it. So we didn't do it nearly as many as we had hoped, which now I'm doing for my own self, not ailing, because I feel like now seeing that, now is the time when you feel good and you're healthy. For your loved ones, tell them what you're thinking, what you're feeling, in case you don't get to see your grandkids or great grandkids. We didn't take big trips. We went and visited our kids where they were living and going to college, and tried to really just take advantage of having as much interaction with everyone that loved him. And was it crazy? Some people I didn't even know, come on in. They wanted to spend time with him and really say goodbye. So those are the blessings in having time. That really are beautiful. And then when he did pass, we were able to pass a lot of his personal items on to some of his friends and coworkers. It's fun to have a memorabilia of somebody, and you can feel them and think about them every time you wear it or see it. And so to pay it forward and pass it on to everyone, it was a real big blessing.
Absolutely. We have the amazing Miss Leslie Flowers joining us. And she says, hello, ladies. Hello, Leah Garcia and Chandra Powell. Leslie, if you don't know her, she is a master at the Mindset Think and Grow Rich Master. And she has many, many different classes. She does a lot here on LinkedIn, a lot of free content, a lot of free value. And right now, and she's actually, may not know this. If you know Leslie Flowers, those of you who know, you may not know she's got some secret talents, though, some hidden talents. She's a great singer. She's an incredible author. So she's a wealth of knowledge. Please connect with Miss Leslie Flowers for sure. I appreciate you sharing so much of this story. I think it's critical and vital that people understand that everybody may feel a little apprehensive about getting life insurance. It may be a conversation that isn't the most exciting, although it's very exciting for me. I have to tell you, I'm so excited when I'm able to help a family protect their family. But it's so important.
Yeah. And it actually doesn't have to be hard. We just have to get out of our fear. It's really a beautiful thing. It's like giving a gift to the next generation and to the generation that you are, whoever is left behind. And it really can be a beautiful thing. As can, passing away. I mean, it really ended up being a beautiful thing. We were able to really support him in his transition. And I was so grateful to be able to, and honored to be able to kind of guide him through that.
Yeah. And I love that you touched on leaving the story, because that's really how I approach it. What is that story that you're going to leave? And my precious grandson is 5 years old. I call him High Five because he's 5 years old. So we're always doing our high fives. And I absolutely think about it even more now than ever. What are those stories? Because the rich and wealthy don't just leave money, they don't just leave assets, they leave their wisdom and their knowledge. And those are the things you can preserve, creating those videos, making those little journals, and leaving those family traditions. How did you accumulate your wealth? Why did you invest the way that you did? What are the mistakes that you made down the road and those booby traps that you fell into that maybe you could prevent for the next generation? And that's really what my mission is, helping families to protect that wealth, to distribute that wealth and transfer that wealth and leaving that legacy. Listen, the average family, they plan for Saturday night, but the rich and wealthy plan for multiple generations.
Absolutely.
And let's see if we've got any more comments here. Miss Margaret, hello, beautiful ladies. So there's a lot of women that know each other here in the comments, which is great. We've got a wonderful, beautiful community here on LinkedIn. I just absolutely love LinkedIn. Although I'm on many different platforms, LinkedIn is by far my favorite. If you're not on LinkedIn, I would encourage you to get plugged in. It is so much more than you might think. I know back in the day, people thought of it as a place to find employment, but there's so much more. How do I know that Leslie's a great author? Because she's sharing her book that she's in the process of writing. How do I know that she's an incredible singer? Because we have a room on Friday nights with the incredible Noni Pepperoni, and we sing our hearts out. So there's so many incredible things. It's a lot of fun. It's an incredible community. Chandrika, as we wind down here, is there any closing thoughts, anything that you would like to share with our community?
Mostly just please do feel comfortable to reach out to me. I would be happy to talk to husbands as well who are just feeling apprehensive. It is such an important subject to me. And I also really understand the intimidating factor of the conversation or of actually doing it. And I'm passionate about it, and I'm passionate about helping others, as was Chris. And so if myself or Leah can help you in any way, have the conversation, get through it, talk about it, think about it, but then do it. And I would be, without it having any financial gain, be more than happy to spend some time really protecting your family and thinking about these things, as in real estate, of course, because that is another way of building wealth and protecting your family and getting security for them. I'm happy to talk about any of that as well. I do primarily work in Solano County, Napa County, and Sonoma County, but I can help people anywhere worldwide with referral and advocacy.
And I would really urge you, if you're looking for anyone out there looking for a professional realtor, and I say professional realtor because there are many people with a real estate license. It's very, very different to deal with and interact with and hire a professional realtor. So if you're looking for a professional realtor, reach out to Chandrika. And I would say this, anyone who's in her industry and doesn't have the conversation about life insurance and living trust, in my humble opinion, is doing a disservice. Because somewhere down the line, if you don't have that life insurance, you don't have the living trust in place, and you have these huge investments in real estate, you're creating a disaster down the road for your family. So that she takes that extra time to have the conversation, and not that she's an insurance license, she's not going to help you with your living trust per se, but just even having that conversation and sharing a little bit of her story so that people understand creating that generational wealth is possible for everyone. It just takes an extra planning and somebody to bring that awareness. Maybe as a lot of people might think it's just about having this real estate, but she can help you to understand how important and critically vital it is to put those extra benefits in place so that you truly are leaving generational wealth.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to have this roof over my head. And one of Chris's last requests was, Chandrika, please, I don't want to talk about who you're going to be with in the future. Let's just talk about what I wish for you. And it's to use the house that we bought and protected together in whatever way you need to make your life better. And so that was his kind of last wish. And that's what I've done. And I want to help other people do the same thing.
That's beautiful. We have a few more comments. So you're popular here, Miss Shanti. She said, Miss Leslie says Napa. She loves the wine. I am all about the wine. I love the pairings. I don't know about you, but I just was gifted these beautiful antique dishes to make my pairings. I have these little date nights with myself. I get my wine and my little pairings. So definitely. And Miss Leslie says, oh my goodness, whatever realtors earn is not enough. I have relied heavily on realtors and they do not disappoint. I do my due diligence too. And she
Wonderful.
also says she closed a small house 2 months and didn't even have to show up for the closing. The realtor did it all.
Yeah. They really, having a professional realtor represent you really protects you in every way. And same thing with referral. If you need to buy out of state, I can refer the best realtor and then advocate for you to make sure that that realtor in the other state is taking care of you the way you want them to. So there's many ways that we can help and support. And interior design, right? I can help you build equity in the house that you buy. And then when you're ready to sell it, you've gained a lot of equity and enjoyed a beautiful space while you've been there. So thank you. That's true. And Napa Valley, being so close, is amazing. We are so blessed to live in beautiful California and have all these amazing vineyards near us.
Yeah, circle back a moment. I do want to touch on this. She brought up two really good points. Number one is having a referral if they are not in your area or they're out of state. And number two is people purchase a house and sometimes they want to do these maybe too custom of solutions, and you can kind of guide them on what would be the best way to improve on their house. So kind of touch on that because you have the design background. And I have to tell you, if you have not connected with her on her Instagram, I don't know. I think she's the best designer there is. I have not seen anyone even come close, but I'm pretty sure when you connect with her, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So touch on those two aspects if you could really quick before we go.
Yeah. So one of the benefits that I provide when I work with people in real estate and interior design is that there's ways to upgrade your home, keep it neutral, not overbuild for your neighborhood, and make changes that you're actually going to get back in reselling. And then there's ways to customize that are less permanent, that you can easily change when you're getting ready to sell. And you can actually take those customized items with you when you leave because they're personal to you and you love them and they make you feel good, but they're not necessarily great for building equity. So I'm always careful at helping people. You know, you don't want super decorative tile. You don't want things that are fixed in the home that are super colorful. You want to stay neutral, and you really don't want to over-invest. There's certain items like moldings in a house. You get dollar for dollar back in crown molding and casing and baseboards, where tile, really not so much. Of course, you want to update your spaces, your bathrooms and your kitchens every 20 years or so, maybe sooner, maybe a little longer. But the more neutral you stay with them and the more timeless selections that you pick, you won't have to do that. And then you will be getting more equity when you sell because it'll look amazing and stay neutral.
That is so huge. That was a mic drop, another mic drop, although you've shared a lot of golden nuggets, a lot of wisdom.
Same with curb appeal, the front of the house. It's a big deal as well. Yeah. Small things you can do to make it look updated and higher end without spending very much money.
Let's see. We've got another comment here. Let's see. My former realtor and friend found the realtor in another country with a good track record. I love that about referring to other realtors to each other. And she says also, bring back Mammy Eisenhower. Oh, Eisenhower Pink. Bring back what is it? Miami Eisenhower. Do you know what that is, Shandi?
No.
Mamie Eisenhower Pink. Maybe I'm butchering it. I don't know.
I have to look. I have no idea.
We'll have to look up that. Okay, we'll have to look up that and have to do. Maybe you should do a little post about that and dedicate it to Miss Leslie Flowers. If you're not connected to her, Shandi, please do. She's an incredible wealth of knowledge and just an incredible person all around to be connected to.
I love that.
Well, this has been so fun, so educational, so informative, and I appreciate you sharing your whole heart. I've had goosebumps. I have goosebumps right now. You know, your story is so powerful, and I believe that you will help inspire a lot of people to take that next step in putting that protection with their family, not just the life insurance, but the living trust, so that they can protect their assets long term and really do build that legacy and create generational wealth. So Leslie told she's going to tell us what it is.
Okay.
In the 1950s, Dwight David Eisenhower's first lady, every bathroom was pink tile.
Oh, yes, got it. We still see it today.
Okay.
Pink
Well,
tile, purple, there's green, there's black. Yes, vintage tile for sure. I love it. Bring it
yeah.
back. Well, I could find you a house with it, Leslie. We can get it done together.
There you go.
Maybe
That's-
she has it, and that's why she wants it to come back.
She
So
may. I don't know. Leslie, tell us in the comments. Do you have a house with Dwight David Eisenhower pink?
I love it. I love it. I love that she knows the history of that. That's awesome.
Oh.
I'll take notes on that right now.
She is absolutely a history buff.
That's
for
awesome.
Sure. For sure.
Very cool.
So
So
I
fun
love that.
collaborating with everyone, and I hope to meet you all soon and network.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Shaundi. Pink and black for Elvis Presley. Oh, yeah. Now you got me. I get that one. We can talk forever. We're going to probably have to have a follow-up on this. We probably should do another one on your real estate because
Design.
incredible stuff and design. Absolutely. That's great. We'll put it there.
Yeah.
She says, oh, heck no. I won't say the double L hockey sticks. She said, oh, heck no. No pink and black for Elvis. But
I love it.
thank you. It's been wonderful to reconnect with you. I honor you. Thank you so much for being so transparent and so willing to share through your family's pain. We were able to actually have creating that wealth, protecting your family's legacy, and really giving you that peace of mind and giving you that time to truly heal and kind of reconfigure what your family looks like, right?
Yeah.
Without your amazing husband and protecting his legacy as well.
Yeah. I'm happy to share. I have lots of subjects I'm passionate about, and I love that you're doing this. This is a great way for people to learn. As I said, I love to hear, see, and be more interactive with people versus reading and screen time. So I think this is a wonderful forum. And I would love for everyone to check into Instagram and follow me, and I'll follow you back.
What is your Instagram handle?
Oh, goodness. Did I say I hate tech? I think it's at Chandrika. My marketing girl is gonna.
Yeah, her marketing girl is amazing. Give her a shout out if you want to.
I will definitely. Hopefully, it's on my website. Do you have my website on here? Do I need to share it?
We're going to share it in the comments.
Okay,
so
perfect.
After this is done, we will
all
share
of
it.
My handles and all of my tech is in there.
Give a shout out to your girl too. She's incredible.
Yeah, Serena Hardinger, Fresh Eyes Development is amazing. She's super busy. I don't know if she's taking new clients, but she's wonderful. And she does it for me so I don't have to think about it and I can focus solely on my clients and not on all the media. So I'm very grateful. I need to prioritize clients first and all that media second. So she picks up, lifts me up from there.
Awesome. Well, we are definitely over time, but this has been incredible. And I know you brought a lot of value. We're going to put your handles and all of that in the comments below because people are going to definitely be reaching out to you after this. So that's it for our Wealthy Wednesday. And Miss Leslie sent you a connection request. So you're already popular. You're making connections right here.
I love it.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Sending love.
We'll see you all on next week's edition of Wealthy Wednesday. Again, my name is Leah Garcia, and it's my mission, my vision to help you properly protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth so you can build a legacy and create generational and multi-generational wealth. Also, be sure to get my free ebook, The Wall of Wealth. It is my proprietary one-page financial plan, so that you can kind of look at where you are financially and see if there may be some booby traps down the road that we want to avoid. So with that being said, We will see you all at the top because we know it's way too crowded, way much too crowded at the bottom. Thank you all. See you soon.